Have you ever noticed how the price of petrol seems to jump every time there's news of a conflict somewhere in the world? It's not a coincidence. War and oil are deeply connected, and today, we go in to break down exactly why your trip to the petrol station gets more expensive when tensions rise. First off, modern militaries are incredibly thirsty for fuel. Think about it. Single fighter jet can burn through thousands of liters of fuel on just one mission. Tanks, armored vehicles, and entire naval fleets all run on diesel and oil. To sustain a military campaign, a country needs a massive, uninterrupted supply of fuel. This makes securing energy resources a top priority in any conflict. Because fuel is so vital, the places where it's produced and transported become strategic targets. Oil fields, refineries, pipelines, and storage terminals are often attacked to cripple an opponent's military and economy. Imagine trying to run a war machine without the fuel to power it. Damaging this infrastructure is a direct way to weaken an enemy's ability to fight and sustain itself. It's like cutting off the lifeblood of their entire operation. Now, let's talk about the global market. The world runs on oil, and when a conflict erupts in a major oil-producing region, the markets panic. Traders and investors get nervous about potential supply disruptions. Even the fear of a shortage is enough to send prices soaring. This is because oil is a global commodity. A war in the Middle East or Eastern Europe doesn't just affect those regions. It creates a ripple effect that hits everyone's wallet, from higher petrol prices to increased costs for transporting goods. That's why conflicts involving countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, or Iran are watched so closely. One of the biggest vulnerabilities in the global oil supply chain is the shipping routes. A huge portion of the world's oil has to pass through narrow sea lanes called choke points. The most famous of these is the Strait of Hormuz. It's a tiny strip of water, but about 1/5 of the entire world's daily oil supply passes through it. If this route is blocked or even just threatened, the global energy market can go into a frenzy almost immediately. So, to recap the basics, war affects petrol because armies need massive amounts of fuel. Oil facilities become targets, and the global market hates uncertainty, especially when critical shipping routes are at risk. We've seen this play out in history time and time again. During the Gulf War and the Iraq War, securing oil infrastructure and ensuring the flow of oil were major strategic goals. It's a pattern that repeats itself because modern civilization and modern warfare are both built on a foundation of oil. Now let's zoom in on that critical choke point I mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz, and why Iran's position there is so powerful. And this narrow waterway is sandwiched between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. Every day, millions of barrels of oil from giants like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait sail through it, heading to markets in Asia, Europe, and America. We're talking about 20 to 30% of the world's entire oil supply. This gives Iran incredible leverage. So why would Iran ever threaten to close this vital artery of global trade? The main reason is to apply political and economic pressure during times of conflict or high tension, especially with countries like the United States or Israel. By threatening to block the strait, Iran sends a clear message. The immediate effect would be a spike in global oil prices, disruptions to international trade, and immense pressure on world leaders to negotiate. We've already seen recent tensions in the region cause oil prices to jump and shipping companies to reroute their vessels, showing just how sensitive the market is to any instability there. Iran's location gives it strategic control over the world's energy flow. If it decides to interfere with shipping, it doesn't just impact its adversaries, it affects everyone. Oil exports from Saudi Arabia and the UAE would be choked off. Major economies in Asia, like China, India, and Japan, which are heavily reliant on Middle Eastern oil, would face severe energy shortages. This is precisely why the Strait of Hormuz is considered the most important oil choke point on the planet. From a military standpoint, Iran has the capability to make the strait a very dangerous place for ships. Its navy can deploy sea mines, and its coastal missile systems and drones can target vessels passing through. They have also been known to seize oil tankers or use electronic warfare to jam navigation signals. Even a small-scale disruption is enough to create panic in the oil markets, sending prices sky-high almost overnight. The threat alone is a powerful weapon. Another reason Iran might use this strategy is as a form of economic retaliation. If Iran is hit with heavy sanctions, military strikes, or feels economically isolated, disrupting the oil supply is a way to fight back. It's a way of saying if our economy is going to be damaged, we will make sure the global economy feels the pain too. It's a powerful bargaining chip that forces other nations to consider the consequences of their actions against Iran. So, with all this power, why doesn't Iran just close the strait completely? Well, experts believe a full closure is highly unlikely because it would be an act of self-sabotage. First, Iran also uses the strait to export its own oil. Shutting it down would cut off its main source of revenue. Second, it would damage its relationships with the very countries that buy its oil, like China. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, a complete closure would almost certainly provoke a swift and powerful military response from the United States and its allies, whose navies are tasked with keeping these sea lanes open. Therefore, Iran typically uses the threat of closure as a political tool to gain leverage, rather than actually doing it. It's a high-stakes game of brinkmanship. But let's imagine the worst-case scenario. What would happen if the Strait of Hormuz were completely closed, even for a short time? Impact would be immediate and catastrophic. Oil prices would likely double or even triple in a matter of days. Petrol prices at the pump would surge worldwide, leading to a massive economic shock. Global trade and supply chains would grind to a halt. Stock markets would plummet as the world braces for a global recession. And almost certainly, major world powers would mobilize military forces to reopen the route by force. So, to put it all together, the connection between conflict and your fuel costs is direct and powerful. Modern wars run on oil, and the global economy depends on its stable flow. A single point of tension, especially in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, can hold the entire world's economy hostage. It's a fragile system where geopolitics, military strategy, and economics are all tangled together. Understanding this helps explain why events happening thousands of miles away can have a real and immediate impact on our daily lives. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. See you next time.